The Big Footy Port Adelaide podcast is proudly sponsored by New Vision.
My team, kinda power. I love the power. I love the power.
Hi everyone, Macca19 here, and you are listening to the Big Footy Port Adelaide podcast on Port Fan Radio. And joining me tonight, as always, in the co-host chair, we got Fishing Rick. How are you, buddy?
I'm flat, Macca.
It's pretty sad, isn't it?
I'm flatter than a bloody cushion that Ricky May would have sat on for like 2 days. That's how flat I am.
That's a very old reference there.
You know who Ricky May is, don't you?
I do know who Ricky May is, yes.
Yes, he was a good man. But that's
So
how flat
Pamela
I am.
Anderson last week, Ricky May this week.
I'm showing my age.
You are.
But good news is I'm not as old as Harold.
This is true. This is very true. And look, we are joined by the host of our Maggie's Hour on the Port Fan Radio Network, Wolfric Nick.
Hey guys, how you going?
Good, mate. Thanks for coming on.
It's a pleasure.
Apologies for being late. We had some technical difficulties and everyone's restarted their computers and should be all set now. So, thank you for being patient.
I'll take the blame, Macca. It was my fault.
No doubt, no doubt.
My IT incompetence.
This is it.
So what's going on, boys? How are you guys?
Look, I certainly didn't think... I didn't think we'd be sitting here talking about a loss, that's for sure.
That was unexpected.
And I have to say, I posted on Big Footy on Sunday that if Port Adelaide lost, I would sing the Brisbane song. I will do that on Thursday, but I'm not in front of my computer, so I don't even know the words to the bloody the song. So you have to wait, but I will honour that.
Probably for the best.
I'll do that on Thursday. I'll do a Jonathan Brown version.
Oh. That's going to be thrilling radio, that is. That's going to be awesome.
I'm sure
Look, send in your
ready
tweets.
for it.
That's it. Send in your tweets, people, to either hashtag PortFanRadio or at PortFanRadio, and we will get round to them. We want to know, why did we lose, and how can we turn this season around?
Can we turn the season around?
And that's it.
So where do you want to start?
I guess we'll find out tonight. We might as well start with our love and hate. One thing we loved, one thing we hated about Port Adelaide this week. Rick, do you want to start with your love, mate?
Oh, well, I love the fact that I thought our midfields and our second-tier players played pretty well from what I saw. And I admit I didn't get to see the whole game, but I liked what I saw from Andrew Moore and Brendan Archie, especially in the second half of our seconds match. Did you guys have a look?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah? Well, obviously, Nick, you would have.
Yeah.
Yeah. So well, you guys, and I'm sure we'll probably talk about it at some stage anyway, but I thought Andrew Moore looked really good, especially in the last quarter there. So he'll be one staking a claim to get in our underperforming midfield.
Yeah, it definitely didn't look like he'd been away for 3 weeks. He got into that team and just played as if he was there all this time.
Well, these guys are training. It's not like they're doing nothing when they're not. So they're only missing out on game day, and then they do extra training to compensate the fact that they're not actually playing match practice anyway. So sometimes I wonder if the coaches are beating it up too much and reading a little bit too much into it.
Yeah, it's possible.
Yeah.
It's possible.
And my hate, which we'll talk about shortly, but I didn't really like our work ethic, to be honest. The seniors, we've got a major issue. Like I said, we'll talk about it in a sec. But we're either not fit, which means Burjo hasn't done something right, or we're not working hard enough. And the telltale sign to me was in the last quarter. Is it Toby Green for Brisbane?
Josh Green.
He started a play about 70 metres out, dished it off, ran hard, No one tracked him, and then was on the receiving end inside 50 and ran in, kicked a great goal. I mean, to me, that was just pure work ethic. He was willing to run harder than everybody else. And
I think that was even further than 70 metres out. That was on the half-back flank when he started that.
Was it even further out? Well, there you go.
Yeah.
But, I mean, to me, it was just an indictment on our players that no one ran with him. And this would not have happened in the last 2 years under Hinkley. And to me, that's part of the reason why I think it's probably work rate more than anything.
That's it. Yeah, look, I think there might be a fitness issue there. As you said, we'll talk about this in detail a little bit later on. I'm not sure if we're unfit, though. I'm going to take a different tack on that one. We'll talk about that a bit later. Nick, what was your love and hate, mate?
All right, my love, definitely. The Maggies keeping the power, so the Crows reserves to a winless run this season. And it's also their 3-0 against them so far. It's fantastic. I just love that. Having that hold over them. It's a great feeling. So
It is.
Yeah. And the Maggies
certainly a positive out of the weekend.
Certainly
Do
was.
the Crows take the SANFL seriously, do you think? Are they in it to win?
Well, the first half they looked like they were trying to go for that win. So I guess we just held on and in the end ran over them. So I don't think they are not taking it. They don't take it non-seriously. They do take it pretty seriously, especially because it helps a lot of their reserves, step up into the role that they are needed. Because how many injured do they have in the actual AFL side?
Yeah, that's it. I mean, they're playing a lot of reserves players, like uncontracted players.
Yeah.
So there's probably a legitimate reason why the Adelaide SANFL team isn't much chop at the moment, and that's because they're probably about 7 or 8 players short from what they would normally expect to be in that side. So
yeah, a few top-up players.
But who cares? We beat them anyway, so that's great.
That's right. And as for my hate, I reckon my hate would have to be the current cloud that's circling over Power. I mean, everyone is doubting them to finish strong this year. It's like we've lost touch with it, and a lot of people are doubting that, they're not going to go the distance for the rest of the season. Whereas I reckon we still can pick it up. So my hate is the people who already have that doubt.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, it's a long season. There's still plenty of the year left. There's still plenty of time for us to turn this around. We might win the next 10 games straight. You never know. I mean, it happened with Geelong. It happened with Brisbane in their first premiership years, where they had a pretty sluggish start. Everyone wrote them off, and then they went on these huge winning runs and won the flag, which was pretty unexpected. So,
about Richmond's 9 lives before we destroyed them last year.
Yeah, well, that's right. Absolutely. As the saying goes, you can never write off Port Adelaide. And, we've proven that time and time again, and hopefully we can prove that again this year.
Exactly right.
And what about you, Macca?
Look, my love is my man JP.
Yeah?
And I'm not going to say it's not going to be Jasper Pittard. It's my man, the form of Jesse Palmer in the reserves. I picked him.
Yes.
I picked him as the player that I was most interested in of all the draftees. As on face value, I thought it was a bit of an odd choice to pick a player that in a position that we had in pretty much abundance already on our AFL squad. But you know what? He's delivering at the moment in the SANFL. I still think maybe a little bit of a lack of pace, especially off the mark, might be an issue. But look, he gets in good position. He's really tough at the bowl. Knows how to kick goals. He's got good skills. And, he's developing pretty nicely at the moment.
Yeah, not
What's
wrong
his
there.
dimensions again, boys? What sort of player is he?
He's pretty much the same, or he's very, very similar to Paul Stewart in terms of height and weight, body shape, that sort of thing. Maybe a tiny bit smaller. I think he's about 189 centimetres. So.
Right.
So he's kind of like
okay.
Yeah, he plays a lot like Gus Monfries, Andrew Moore, that sort of player.
Yep. Awesome. What'd you hate?
Oh, look, everything. Pretty much. I'm going to go with lack of defensive pressure from the midfield. They're just leaving our backline out to dry at the moment. And it's almost a bit of a fallback to the late Choco days of us having no two-way running. And it's everyone involved at the moment, from the captain down. Now, there could be reasons behind this, and no doubt we'll touch on them in a moment. But look, the pressure on their midfield was a real key to their game. And it was a real key to our game in 2014 as well, and it's pretty much nowhere to be seen at the moment.
Yeah, I was only joking around a couple of weeks ago when I said it was very Choco-esque with the inside 50 efficiency comment. They didn't have to deliver on that. I'm a bit disappointed.
That's it.
But I'm actually proud of you, Macca, knowing the scoreline that you actually still watched the whole game. That's quite an accomplishment because after the first 5 minutes, it was all downhill from there.
Yeah. Look, I was working all day Sunday and obviously didn't get a chance to watch the game, and I tried my hardest not to find out what the result was or what the scoreline was, but I can't help myself. And I got a couple of texts saying, this is pretty ordinary, and I thought, oh, here we go. So I checked the score, and we were up by about 8 points at that stage, and I thought, maybe it's going to be a bit of a dull game, but we'll still get over the line. And finished work at half time, ran to my car, checked the score, and we were down by 4 goals. And I can't repeat what I said in the car at the time, but it certainly wasn't pleasant. And decided not to listen to the second half. I thought I'd do my hardest to wait and check the score when I got home, and it wasn't any better then either. So I think it's actually probably easier to watch a game like that once the emotion of it's out of it. I knew what the result was. I could calm myself down before I watched the game, and could sort of try and find reasons as to why we lost instead of just swearing at my computer. So.
Fair enough. All right, so where are we going?
Look, we'll go straight into the AFL review, I think. And, round 7 didn't go as planned in any sense of the word. And we played Brisbane at the Gabba in front of a pretty dismal 15,000 people and shockingly lost by about 37 points. 8 goals 17 to 15 goals 12. Gus Monfries with 3 goals was the only multiple goal scorer. I guess there's a lot to talk about here and lots to sort of dissect. Where do we start?
That's the $1 million question. Well, maybe we should start with the Pandora box of this fitness issue. What's your theory?
We are getting a lot of queries over our fitness, and you've got to say deservedly so at this point. We've struggled to run out games all year. I think we've kicked 34 goals in second halves this year. Our opposition has kicked 58 goals, so it's a difference of 24. More goals to the opposition in 7 rounds, and we've only won second half this year. I don't think that we're not fit. I don't think that's actually possible to be unfit at this stage of the year, especially considering we upped the ante in terms of the amount of running and training that we did in the pre-season. I actually think that's the problem. I actually think that maybe we've overdone it this year. We've got we've got that balance wrong, and they're actually too fatigued at this stage of the season, and we're having trouble running out games because we just don't have that run in our legs at the moment.
So, if that's the case, how do we reverse this? Is it reversible?
Well, that's the $1 million question. And I'm not sure if it is reversible, and if it is, I'm not sure how we go about it. I mean, that's up for the fitness staff to try and work out. But I mean, I could be completely off kilter here, and it could be a mental issue. It could be one of a dozen different issues. But I don't know. I think given our poor form in second halves this year, I think it's more than just coincidence that every single game we've played this year, we've been diabolical after half time. And I think it's a fitness issue. I think it's clear to see that our players just aren't able to run as hard as what they did last year. And they've got to try and find a way to work it out.
Well, what do you reckon, Nick? Do you agree with Macca?
I actually do. I actually do think that they've overworked themselves in the pre-season, and it's coming back to bite them. And I think they're a little tired. I mean, you can see it as Mac said in the second halves, that they just look more tired than they normally do, especially last season, which we used to run out the fourth quarter so well, and it's just not happening anymore.
I'm not.
It's a fine line.
I'm not.
It's a fine line between getting it right and getting it wrong in terms of getting your fitness at its absolute peak. I think in 2013 and 2014 we were growing towards that peak, but maybe we've just gone, just a little bit to the other side of that now, and maybe they were a little bit overworked.
Yeah, I don't know. we really need a neutral fitness expert on here probably to sort of answer that question. But even our work rate in the first half of games doesn't look the same, and everyone's talking about these key strategies where they're just dumping excess players in our our forward 50, trying to clog up space, and or clogging up the centre square, depriving us of our centre run. Structurally we just don't seem to be right, which then seems to make us look like we're not fit. And I just wonder if we've just been caught out with our structures. And a good example was the last quarter where Broadbent's in the pack situation and he just distributes the ball straight out to a Brisbane player, thinking it was a poor player. It's almost to me like the gridiron stories where they get their hands on the playbook and then they leave it around for everyone to see, and almost makes me wonder, did Phil Walsh take our playbook and fax it through to the other 16 teams in the competition to go, hey, here you go, boys, this is what you need to do? But or Mark Rashudo might have done that for him. But yeah, it's just. I don't know. I don't know if it's fitness, but I do think what's happened is though that the boys have lost a bit of confidence and they're giving up. That's all I could see on Sunday. They looked like they just gave up and they didn't even try in that last quarter.
Yeah, you can certainly see Travis was frustrated quite a few times in that. It looked like he was trying to lift the boys, but they just weren't going. And yeah.
I don't know. I mean, it could be a structural issue, but is the structures out because they can't run and get into position that they need to be?
Yeah, well, I think so. I think the opposition teams are matching up in a way that it's throwing our runners out of whack, so to speak, and they don't know where to go, and therefore we're losing all run altogether because we're not running to the right places. Our key targets or our key deliverers of run, like Matty White, who's grossly down. Pittard's been down in the last 2 weeks, so teams have worked over them quite well. And obviously Polek's out, and don't know if his injury was affecting him before he left, but obviously his output's been down a little bit as well. But the thing I don't get is this argument that the opposition teams are studying us more closely and therefore stifling us because, as I said on the forums, how come they're not doing that to Fremantle, Sydney, Hawthorn, those teams? They've been up for such a long period of time, and how come the opposition teams haven't studied them and been able to negate those teams as well? I don't think that's really a strong argument.
Yeah, I mean, well, yeah, I don't agree with that either. I think that's a load of crap, to be honest. But I mean, we just haven't won many games in recent history. That's what it boils down to. We've won 3 games this year. We won about 4 of our last 10 or 11 last year. So we're just in a bit of a rut at the moment. And I don't know. I don't think opposition teams are spending any more time trying to dissect our game plan as they would anyone else's. Because we didn't win a premiership last year. We didn't make a grand final last year. So I just can't see that being true. I don't know. For me, it just comes down to fitness. We just look sluggish all over the park. We're just not getting into position quick enough. We're lacking run, as you said, on the outside. Polek's out of the team. White looks to be injured or carrying something. Other players aren't stepping up. I guess it leads us to say the other sort of elephant in the room, where sort of, last year we were able to stop opposition momentum so successfully, and we rarely saw a quick run of goals like we saw yesterday and that we've seen all year. So what's changed from 2014? And, it may be unpopular, but how much influence has the departure of Phil Walsh had to our midfield group?
Nick, you've disappeared.
I try not to think of him as the reason behind us doing so badly. I mean, sure, he helped develop the team last year and the year before, but laying everything on Phil Walsh for all our problems, I think, is the kind of like the coward's way out. If you want to go that way, it's the work rate of the boys. On them. I reckon they need to pick up the work rate themselves, not blame on a coach.
Well, is the counter argument? It's not the loss of Walsh, but maybe is it the addition of Voss? Is that part of the issue? Because our structures are out of whack, and Walsh took over from Alan Richardson. So Richo did a great job with Hinkley. Walsh continued on that great work with Hinkley, and then the Walsh to Voss transition seems to have been a little bit sloppy. And I guess Michael didn't have the best career at Brisbane, where there was a bit of player disharmony, and as well as not a very good record as a coach. And is there maybe a little bit of a coincidence that that's really been the only major change in the coaching panel, and we definitely seem to be struggling with our midfield matchups?
I actually thought our midfield matchups were pretty good yesterday, and I actually thought our structures were pretty good. I thought we had more sort of clean clearances, better takeaways. We were able to find space on the outside better than we have done all year. We just couldn't deliver it properly. I thought that was the issue yesterday, as opposed to sort of poor structures and getting thrashed in the midfield.
Why would we have tagged Rockcliffe over Beams?
Because Rockcliffe can absolutely destroy teams. More so than Beams.
Can't Beams as well?
Well, of course,
and
isn't to the point where Brisbane... Injured? Well, not really. I wouldn't have thought so.
I thought he was a bit injured.
No, he got knocked out a couple of weeks ago. That was about it.
I think, his influence was curbed to the point where you think you maybe would have switched it to Beams, just to see if you can curb his influence a little bit in the game.
Yeah. I mean, in the end, we were playing both off Beams. So, I don't know. They both played well. I don't think Beams was their match winner.
Yeah. Yeah, not sure. I mean, I'm sort of on the fence with the Voss debate. I entertain myself with the discussion because it does have me intrigued, because he is the key difference in our coaching box, and the strategy doesn't seem to be right. So I just sort of wonder, is there a bit of a correlation there? But as I said earlier, it's in the season, it's one of those ones you can only sort of look at retrospectively. You can't look at it after 7 games and be that judgmental. But Lobie and Ryder sort of got pants yesterday, didn't they?
Do you reckon? I actually thought our ruck work was pretty good.
But it was just going to the wrong player.
Well, Ryder was struggling to be a clean player for the bulk of the game, I thought. He kept getting near the ball, but kept dropping it and fumbling it. And Stephen Martin actually got second best on ground in the coaches' vote. So the coaches obviously thought he had a great game as well.
Martin did a lot around the ground, but his ruck work wasn't fantastic.
Yeah, well, that's still part of the work of being a ruckman, isn't it? It's not just with the taps.
Sure.
It's what
I thought Ryder was good. I had him in my top 5.
Did you?
It was just unfortunate that he didn't kick his 3 shots at goal. But I thought his work up forward was reasonably good, and I thought he was. I think he had the best sort of conversion rate in terms of hit outs to clearances.
What about our goal kicking yesterday?
Abysmal. is one word to describe it. 8 goals, 17. I mean, that's, as you know, Rick, that's been a bugbear of mine for the last sort of 12 months, and it hasn't really improved much. And 8 goals, 17 is just not acceptable.
Yeah, no, not at all. When you're kicking over double points, then you're kicking goals. You got to look at that and wonder what the hell's going on with the kicking.
Yeah,
and
Ryder's 3 shots were. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Ryder had 3 shots, 2 in the second quarter, which could have blown the game open, and they were pretty gettable, and he missed all of them, and Wingard missed a couple of shots, and Schultz missed a couple that you would normally expect he would eat up. Hartlett kicked out on the full from about 40 metres out. Boak and Mitchell had shots on the line, which got marked on the line.
How how many shots on goal were actually marked on the line? I couldn't believe it. It was like 4.
Yeah, it was a few.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
An extra metre and they would have counted. So, I mean, a little bit of luck there, I guess. But, it just comes down to the fact that time and time again, when the pressure's on, we just can't deliver in front of goal. And, it's been an issue for a long time. It's cost us games. It's cost us finals in the last couple of years. So, at some point, they've got to try and work through that and fix a pretty clear problem.
Well, is that, again, not being able to handle pressure?
Absolutely, yeah. I think it's something that we spoke about on the first podcast of the year, and how is the club going to deal with the expectation and that sort of pressure? And I don't think they've been able to handle it at this point.
No, part of me
but then
also.
It's not clear either, is it? I mean, it's not crystal clear. I mean, if we had beaten West Coast and Brisbane and lost to Hawthorn and the Crows, you'd be able to clearly say that we aren't good enough to beat the top sides at the moment, but. We beat Hawthorn, we beat North away, we beat the Crows when they were in good form, we pushed Freo to the last couple of minutes. Is it mental? Is that what the problem is?
Well, you've just sort of segued me into what I was about to say, which is we had such a build-up about playing the big games. I'm wondering if the players are being disrespectful to the so-called easy game, even though there isn't an easy game, but I guess the games which aren't the big high-profile games, which are these Sunday afternoon games, maybe they're not handling the build-up to those, and it's not that marquee fixture where there's going to be the 50,000 people coming to and on prime time, and they're not able to get themselves up. Maybe there is a bit of a mental aspect to it that they're on a bit of a letdown with these minor games after what they've accomplished. Yeah,
we've had a couple of tweets in. Catherine McDonald has said, we may have overcheesed using this God mode we tend to activate in big games. It masks how we're young and not quite there yet. She also said, started 2014, all 3 finals in the Hawthorn first quarter involved the opposition being taken aback by our God mode. Which is true, but I'll have to disagree and say that I don't think we're actually all that young anymore. We had almost 1,000 more games than them on the park yesterday. And you should have expected us to beat someone that was bottom of the ladder with a percentage of 57 at the start of yesterday's game.
Yes. I agree with you there, Macca.
It didn't feel like they were a bottom of the team ladder.
No, I mean, their midfield did do a pretty good job, and they've got a pretty good midfield. It's definitely the best part of their team. I actually thought our defence once again stood up as much as they possibly could. Homch did a very good job on Daniel McStay, who kicked 4 goals last week. He kept him to 2 touches. Trengove did an alright job on Leuenberger. I'm struggling. I'm struggling to find positives out of this, to be honest.
Mm. Well, you've done well. I think you've been reasonably positive. You've been more positive than me.
A lot of us have, and probably fair enough. I mean, you expect to win these games, but I don't know. I mean, you think back and, in 2004 we lost by nearly 100 points to North Melbourne, who didn't make the finals. We got thrashed by the Crows, who didn't make the finals. We got, thumped late in the year to Essendon, who struggled. These sort of games do sometimes happen to good teams.
Mm. Well, here's another one for the both of you. What makes Westhoff and Hartlett so polarising? Because in victories, they seem so great, but in our losses, they seem abysmal.
So what you're saying is they're front runners?
Don't put words into my mouth.
I think, is it that sort of the gauge for that club? So if the club's doing great, Westhoff's going to be out there leading the goal kicking, well, not leading the goal kicking, but getting a lot of disposals, getting tackles, marking the ball. But when we're not doing well, where's he gone?
Yeah. Oh, look, we've got a lot of players, I think, that... I think we've got a lot of players that don't seem to stand up when we absolutely need them to. When we're under the pump, they seem to go a little bit missing. And I don't think that's unfair to say that. I think we're at a point in our season and, in our list structure where we need to talk about that sort of thing. And, that's been a criticism of Westhoff his whole career. It's been a criticism of Hartlett his whole career that when we're winning, they look $1 million, and when we're not, you just can't really see them out there. And look, Hamish Hartlett's stats once again yesterday were pretty good. I mean, 22 touches, 7 tackles, 9 contested possessions. He was around the ball a lot, 5 inside 50s, 4 clearances. He did a lot of work, but honestly, I can't remember barely a single thing that he did.
Other than the kick out.
How does that work? How does that work? Because I'm exactly with you. To me, if you said to me, "Oh, what did he do?" I would have gone, "I don't know, not much." He was hardly noticeable. So what is he doing? I don't get it.
I mean, he just seems to be getting a lot of his touches behind the ball at the moment. He's not having that impact that we expect from Hamish Hartlett. And look, at his best, he's just about the most brilliant player in our team. I mean, he's unstoppable when he's on song, but maybe he's hampered by a bit of an injury. I mean, he did miss a fair chunk of the pre-season. He missed a fair chunk of the games in the pre-season. So maybe he's still not over that little injury that he had.
So who are the other ones?
Do you want me to name names?
I want you to name names.
Look, I think Matty White struggles when we're not on song. I think Jay Schultz and his goal kicking is a bit of an issue when we need him to stand up. Sometimes he misses some shots. Yep, absolutely. Mm-hmm. I think Tom Jonas hasn't had a very good year at all. Maybe someone like Brad Ebert even. Brad Ebert was well down yesterday on what we normally expect.
Yeah, didn't see much of him either.
And Broadbent's another. He had 22 touches, and that was probably his best game of the year, but still not at the standard that we would normally expect from Matty Broadbent.
Mm. And how did you find... before I forget...
And look, I'm going to cut you off there, Rick, and say that, look, I think it might be a bit harsh for me to name names because everyone struggled yesterday except for probably Robbie Gray. He was the only one that put in a true four-quarter effort. And you can't really criticise a whole much of what he did, but everyone else on the park sort of struggled. It is a team effort, and they all let us down a bit.
Yeah. I did want to say though, as I fumble around, I was actually a bit critical of Cam O'Shea being selected. And I think Nick was backing me up about his selection.
Yeah, 100% agree.
And it's not because I don't like him. I actually do like Cam O'Shea. But I thought under Hinkley it was about rewarding players for their form. And from the bits that I had seen and the experts that go out and watch every week that I listen to, he didn't have the form in the SANFL to warrant selection. And I was and it's not even about Arch, who I'm a big fan of, but I was a bit disappointed that he was dropped. But, I mean, if you're going to argue for someone to come in, I would have thought that potentially Paul Stewart was probably in better form than what Cam O'Shea was. And he brought that poor form into the Brisbane game. And that's not his fault that he got picked, because which player is going to go, I don't want to play because I'm not in form? They're never going to do that. So, but I do think the coach has made a mistake in picking him.
No doubt. Yep, I agree with that 100%. I don't think his form warranted a spot in the side, and I think maybe they just brought him in to add an extra defensive number with Carlisle out of the side, but we really didn't need to bring in his sort of player. I mean, you go through the list and we've got Broadbent, we've got Hartlett, Jonas, Cracker, O'Shea, Pittard, that all play that sort of half-back flank role. It's just too many half-back flankers at the moment.
Where's Portia when we need her?
Yeah, that's it. That's it.
Yeah, but that's it was.
We're getting a call in. We're getting a call in from Matt Sullivan. G'day, mate. How are you?
G'day, guys. How you going?
Hey, Matty.
Hey, Nick.
My co-host.
We got the good game this week.
We did.
We'll be all happy, good spirits on Wednesday. And oh, crikey!
So, how did you see the game, mate?
Mate, I don't. It's an issue. I don't think fitness. I just think attitude. We've all been. I assume in some capacity we've all been in sports, team-based, individual. 3 or 4 people on a team, kind of any team-based thing. It's attitude because they've got the talent. That's the thing. It's not. if we were in a situation like Carlton right now, you're looking 3-4 years down the track. Regardless of even if whether Carlton could beat us next week, if Carlton played us at Adelaide Oval, they would. If we went and played Carlton last week, they could have got us because I don't rate Brisbane, and I think we've heard that a bit too much too. You're just off 5%. I spoke to Hamish on Monday out of that Jay Schultz launch thing last Monday. If you go for 5%. I feel like saying to him, dude, don't think like that. No, you smash them. You don't disrespect them by smashing them. You just smash them because that's the thing you got to do. And so it's an attitude thing. It's an attitude. It's a willingness to get to those contests in numbers and hunt. So is it
a structural thing? Are they not the right position at the contest to be able to impact it?
I heard tonight, Graham Corns mentioned, and it was a thing I thought about earlier, was just that one extra tall, in that wintry, wet conditions, could you have had the guts to say, I don't know, who was up there? Did we take an emergency up there for the game? Like you look at the weather, go with one ruckman and an extra runner. Maybe we should have just done something like that in those conditions. That's something I thought about.
I think they took up Calhoun.
Well, maybe Sammy should have played. It might have, I don't know. But then again, would that have changed? The attitude's there, Rick, Macca, Nicky. Look at that attitude. We're seeing it. We're seeing, aren't we? We're seeing relaxed, just finger pointing, the old stuff. It's there in the guys. It's funny.
I thought our attitude was pretty good yesterday. Looking at it from without that emotion of watching it live, I actually thought the players went in pretty hard yesterday. They just weren't good enough. And the skills weren't there, and the pressure wasn't there. But I actually thought when we were in the contest, especially in the first half, up until they got that run of 4 goals, I thought we were playing pretty good footy.
Well, the counter stat to the work rate issue is our tackling numbers are through the roof.
Yeah.
But that's a bit of a misnomer because they were first to the ball quite often.
Yeah. Well, there's the fumbling skills and stuff's a bit of a worry, though. That is a genuine concern.
But all the other stats, you can't really look at the stats in this game and gather anything out of it, really, because it was basically even across the board. Disposals were pretty much even. Same with hit-outs, same with clearances. Inside 50s were dead even. Contested possessions were pretty much dead even. It was pretty even across the board, but, one team was able to kick goals and the other one, couldn't hit a target.
And it's the same story in regards to when you see the way they get some of those cheap goals just out the back, just little discipline things, and just the ability just to. I'm sick and tired of seeing guys that are just running in 30, 40 metres and they just chip and they're lowering their eyes instead of just looking at the goals and just confidence. Westhoff turns around and kicks the ball almost just over his head. Schultz gets the free, but you should have just gone for goal. Do you remember that one?
Yeah.
Was it might have been the second or third quarter or something? And so why didn't he just turn around and just kick it? So it's just little frustrating things like that where, they need a psychiatrist or something. They just need one of those sessions with the guys where they're literally just a bit of it's all in the head. It's in the head, guys.
Get the hypnotist back from start of last year.
That's right. Yeah, maybe something he said. So,
all right, I want to talk about some individual players briefly. Carl Amon, he had his debut. Not just had his debut, but there was a wonderful piece before the game about Carl Amon, and I never actually realised that he had so many physical issues growing up, and it was actually quite an interesting piece, and it's quite remarkable that he's able to stand here today and call himself an AFL player, and I thought he had a pretty good debut, to be honest.
Good on him for getting
He had an awesome debut. He put a few midfielders to shame with his just over a quarter performance with what he did.
You'd like to see
Kicked
him...
a nice goal and provided lots of run. It was great.
I'd like to see him get a full game. I think he'd be influential. You need to see some guys that are just hungry like that, just to remind some of the other players that, hey, your spot on the side's just not set in concrete. Even the players that you think, okay, because would we ever think that we'd see Hamish Hartlett or Matt White in a Maggie's jumper? Can we stomach that thought? Is that possible? maybe some of the
Hartlett,
talent
I doubt they'll ever drop Hartlett, but I can definitely see Matt White getting dropped. And pretty soon.
Yeah, I can see that.
I just don't think physically he's right. I just don't think he's physically right out there. But
yeah.
Is dropping Hamish the answer, though, or is it more about repositioning Hamish? Did we have to make him accountable and say, Hamish, we're going to play you in the guts for the full game, and this is what we expect, and put the onus on him to stand up to a more senior position instead of just getting playing that Peter Burgoyne seagull role at the back of the pack?
Yeah. Oh, it's definitely an option, and I'd still prefer him to be, somewhere around the forward line, to be honest. If he's going to play not in the midfield, then I much prefer him to be on a forward flank than a back flank.
Well, he's so damaging, isn't he?
Yeah. Well, that's it.
Yeah.
The other player I want to talk about is Jarman Impey. It was his first game since round 2. How did we see his game?
It was not bad. I liked it. No, I felt that, again, he's just coming back from a bit of injury. Like it's finding his way in the side. He's just young. He shouldn't be. We shouldn't have him and other those type of players carrying the side or feeling like they're not the leaders and they're not the influential ones. So, pretty good game. Not bad at all.
I thought he was up and down. I thought defensively he was pretty good at times, and his attack at the ball is unquestionable. He
tackled really
hits
well.
It super hard, and I thought his disposal was pretty good as well. But he just let Green get away from him on a couple of occasions, especially at crucial times of the game. And Green was arguably their match winner with 3 goals. So it was a bit of an up and down performance, but certainly one to grow on. And I much prefer him to stay in the side for the rest of the season, to be honest.
So what about Tom Jonas, boys? What's going on there?
Good question.
Struggling.
That is,
Struggling.
Is he one that might potentially get dropped?
Oh boy! Just the thought of that is just unheard of. But yeah, he might just need that. If not, just I don't know. Could you afford to give him just a week off? I don't know. That's the thing I'm thinking of, is the boys. Again, there's certain leaders and certain senior players that just need to be reminded. You need to put your finger out, because as good as you are, we're looking at. We've got a season that's just getting away from us, and pull your head in, get your game on, because otherwise, your spot on the side is not set there. If you're not performing. So there's certain players like White and of course Jonas. Wow. Yep, I would reconsider it. I guess the only problem there, guys, is there a backup for him? Where's the quality there?
Paul
I
Stewart
think so.
had a cracker of a game.
Yeah.
Stewie.
I mean, there's Cleary. I mean, we probably don't even need to replace him in terms of bringing in an extra defensive number if we're going to play 7 back flankers in the side, to be honest. But which we are doing at the moment. But look, I mean, he's pretty much been coasting all year, to be honest. He's been a bit of a disappointment, and I'm a huge fan of Tommy Jonas. But yeah, he needs to get his head right and start playing some great footy again.
Well, put it this way: does he have to find some people, make them even scapegoats in some degree? Well, they're not even going to be scapegoats. So you could mount a case for most people being dropped, really. But does he have to make a stand here and say this isn't tolerable?
Well, do we drop a Jonas? Do we drop a Westhoff and make a statement? I mean, I think you could easily make a case for that.
If it just keeps going, it's only 2 games. I don't know. There's a lot to be said again for sticking the same side and just saying, "Hey guys, okay, have you done with all your mucking around and you got your head all screwed backwards? Right, good, let's go." Because I'd like to think that there's a good time, 300 games for Kane, the whole building up of this game, just to stick with some belief. And just don't get carried away with changes. Changes can be dangerous. They can't always just be just good to have changes. You want good, proper changes. If you're going to bring people in, they've got to be worthy of it. So,
yeah, but you can't reward incompetency either.
True, I agree.
A lot of people are thinking they're playing arrogant and lazy football. So that being the case, what is it? What message are you sending to the people in the seconds that are trying to work their way up into the senior side if you're not willing to make some of these players accountable? And so therefore the people below that are trying to fight their way into the team are going to become disillusioned. I mean, you could mount a case for Archie being disillusioned a little bit because he did nothing wrong and he got dropped on the flimsy argument that he needed a full game. I mean, why not give him a full game?
He'll be in next week, surely. I can't. I would reckon that there'd be a couple of guys a message sent to bring back Arch.
We'll talk about that in a minute with the SANFL, but there's probably 7 or 8 guys in pretty good form that could all justifiably make a case for coming into that AFL team. So I guess it's just a matter of what Kenny and the coaching staff want to do. Do they back them in knowing that their best is good enough, these players? Or do they drop a bit of a big name and make a bit of a statement? I mean, that's why they get paid the big bucks, I guess.
The other thing too, Graham Hitch has sent a message on Facebook, guys. Can I read that out, Macca? You're all good for that?
Yeah.
It was interesting because he brings up something that I was hoping you guys would talk about, or I'm happy to bring up. He says, watching on TV from afar, we seem to always want to play safe. Last year we would take shots from anywhere. This year we want to pinpoint a pass to someone 25 out, play that cute kind of millionaires footy. Last year we seemed to play a more free-flowing, albeit riskier style. I don't think we have the skills to play this safe style. It's a good point, mate.
Well, you could argue that
this comes back to the chicken and the egg, doesn't it? Do we play this safe style because we don't have the fitness to be able to perform that fast-running, play on at all cost footy that we did last year? Or, have we overthought ourselves a little bit and have tweaked our game plan thinking that it might be on a winner, but it's actually not? I mean, it's hard to say. I mean, it's really hard to say. And as we spoke about last week, I mean, playing this millionaires footy or feng shui footy, I mean, it's frustrating watching us try and play that because I don't think we have the skill level to do it.
Certainly not in the wet. Certainly not the wet, but not in the wet. There's something about that. I'm worried about a wet weather.
It did look all right against Freo, but we still lost that game. So
yeah, we did, but I mean, we were pretty unlucky. Key moments could have gone our way, and we could have had a victory. But our skills were high, and we were able to transition between the two game styles against Freo very, very well, between the possession and the fast running. And we've seemed to have lost that ability to transition between the two game plans. And if teams are going to flood back into our forward 50 to deprive us of space, we do need to master that possession game plan. And if we're going to compare ourselves to the best, let's use Hawthorn, that's what Hawthorn would do. If we flooded into the Hawthorn forward 50, they will maintain possession, either try and draw players out of their forward 50, or they will just keep pointing passes and move the ball around until they hit a target inside forward 50. And we seem to try it, and then we panic. And we don't, and then we just bomb it long instead of trying to do that pinpoint delivery.
Well, look, can we beat Richmond this week? Can we turn it around this week in Kane's farewell game at Adelaide Oval?
I'd like to say we could. I mean, if we're going along with Matty's whole thought and attitude, I mean, the boys want to bring the win for Kane. If that's what it takes, then they'll lift their game if that's the case.
Yep.
Yep. No,
I think we can.
Yep. Well, does it take this? Does it take a loss to Brisbane for the boys to realise, just to kind of just snap out of it? They probably just thought that they could go up there and just, there's subconsciously there's this kind of, it's Brisbane for crying out loud. And then you just get caught out, so.
Yeah, well, I mean, we thought that after the West Coast game. I mean, we think that loss to West Coast might have snapped us out of it, but...
that's exactly right.
That's right. Well, look, we shall move on to the SANFL, and we shall say goodbye to you, Matthew.
I bid you adieu.
Your thoughts on Wednesday night.
Save it for Wednesday.
That's it. Thanks for calling in, buddy.
Thanks, lads. Great show, by the way.
And Macca.
Cheers, buddy.
I've got another Who Am I? I've already queued up another one.
Oh, here we go.
What's the prize? What's the prize?
We'll do the same thing. We'll do another store voucher.
Beautiful.
We'll do another $100 store voucher. Simba was keen for another one.
Yep.
So the clue for tonight is I've played in the AFL list.
I like it. I like it.
There you go.
Well, that's,
so if anyone wants a random guess of who,
156 options there, isn't that right?
something like
yeah,
that. So he played in the AFL or was just on our list?
No, they played.
Or we'll
on
get to
our
that.
They've played it. They played an AFL game for us.
Okay. All right. All
There you
right. Options are plenty there.
There is.
All right, well, look, let's move on and talk about the SANFL. It was better news at SANFL level. Port continuing their dominance over the Crows with a come-from-behind 35-point victory, 20 goals 14, to 15 goals 9 at Balaclava. Palmer and Need kicked 3 goals each, with 2 goals coming from Sammy Gray, Johan Wagner, Austin, and also Mitch Harvey. So it looked like we were down by as much as 24 points during that first half. We hit the lead very late in the third quarter and ran over the top of them in the last. How did you see the game, Nick?
Oh, it was a little worrying at first, especially when they started so well. But when we started coming back in that first quarter and just kept the scoreline reasonably close throughout the whole thing, and then in that last quarter, we just took off. And just like, this is ours. See you later, guys. We're going to win this. And it was just great. I loved it.
It was probably that extra.
We let them have a bit of fun for their fans in the mid-north, and then we got serious after half-time.
I thought the fans was actually a bit disappointing. There wasn't a massive turnout there.
No, compared to last year at Clare, wasn't as big.
Yeah.
But I think Clare is a bigger town, so it would have attracted a lot more people.
Yeah. There was a lot on. I mean, there was the Clare Gourmet Festival on, which was only 20 minutes away. So, I mean, there was a lot on in the mid north on the weekend. So, yeah, maybe that had a bit to do with the crowd as well. But
So, who did you like? Who did you think was in form and worthy of being considered for AFL selection, Nick?
There's a few. We had a lot of really good players. I mean, I could go with Paul Stewart. Start with him. He played a cracker of a game. Loved it. Sam Gray, one of my favourites, of course, as you guys know.
Yep.
With his 2 goals, and he got around that ball so much. I love how he plays. You could name almost all the sides. They just played really well.
What about the 2 guys that got dropped this week in Aaron Young and Brendan Archie? Both put up some pretty impressive numbers.
Despite Aaron Young missing, was it that they got 1 for 3, 1 goal, 3 points.
Yep.
He still got a lot of the knock hit outs to him, so he got that ball and just bombed it forward so many times. And was it Andrew Moore? Was the other one? Did you say? Oh no, Archie.
Archie. Yeah.
Yeah, Archie. He performed really well, and he's definitely wanting to get back up into the AFL side. You can tell.
I thought Aaron Young's skills was a little bit sloppy for an AFL player for that standard. You could argue that maybe I'm being a bit critical, but I thought a few handballs didn't really hit the target as well as what they should have and everything else. But I really liked what I saw from Andrew Moore in the centre. I think he should be really pushing hard for a position, and a lot of people are arguing we're missing, especially with Ollie Wines, some contested ball winners. So you would think Andrew Moore and Brendan Archie, who I thought had a very serviceable game going back as well, they should be pushing strongly for selection. And with Ollie Wines coming back, which should help turn our fortunes around a little bit with Ollie Wines coming back in the side.
Yeah.
Yep. Absolutely.
What about Jake
he
Need?
kicked 3 goals.
Oh,
Yeah, he kicked 3 goals.
Jake's here, Macca.
the pocket rocket there, he was really... Any time that the ball came towards him, he just got it. He tackled really hard too, and 3 goals from him was a great show from Needy.
Yeah. Do we need him?
I kind of like to keep him in the SANFL at the moment. He's doing really well.
But I think an informed Jake Need is a very good player at AFL level and a bit of a match winner.
Certainly is.
Yeah.
If he gets called up, then good on him. He definitely does deserve it. So.
Well, I mean, people were saying that, even though a lot of people wanted Need out, now we've got the fans saying that we need for the crumbing. And I guess it goes back to that our structures not allowing us to have crummers. Surely we've got enough crummers as it is, but a confident Need, he does add a bit of zip into that, especially in that forward 50 area.
Yeah, it certainly does. And our crumbing work in the AFL level probably does need a bit of work, I reckon. So, I mean, we as you said, we got a few of them, but they're not really doing the job as well as you would expect.
That's it. We wanted him to go down and get some confidence at SANFL level, and it looks like he's done that. He's been pretty consistent over the last 2 or 3 weeks, so it's good to see him playing some pretty good footy.
Certainly is.
Now, someone else that I want to talk about is Johnny Butcher. He only had the 2 kicks and the 1 mark for the day. I think a lot of people might have thought he got injured out there, going by his stats.
He bit his tongue. Literally,
That would hurt.
Yeah, he actually did bite his tongue. I don't know when it happened, but it may have happened early on. But I don't know. Was he actually playing after the first quarter? I didn't even notice him.
Ian from Facebook took a couple of cracker photos of his tongue, actually with a lot of blood on it.
Yeah,
And,
that's actually where I found out he had bit his tongue from Ian's photos.
Yeah, and they were cracker photos, but I don't know if you guys have ever done it. I've bitten my tongue and it didn't bleed and it bloody hurt. So him to bite his tongue and be bleeding, he would have been in a fair bit of pain, I reckon. So, but our key defender, Logan Austin, kicked a goal, Macca.
Kicked 2.
2, mate. He kicked 2.
There you go. Maybe there's signs of converting him to a power forward.
Did I not say this
know.
earlier on? I said that Logan should be up forward. It's showing he should be up there. So yeah,
he's going to be a player. I reckon he's going to be a very good player.
Oh yeah,
I hope
next
so.
year he'll be signed on to the Power. I reckon that's going to happen.
Well, he is with the Power, isn't he?
Oh yeah, he is.
Yeah.
Oh, you mean he'll be selected for senior games?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's it. All right, boys. We might leave it there for tonight. Nick,
No worries.
thanks for coming on, buddy.
Always a pleasure.
And
we'll look forward to your Maggie's hour.
We'll be 4-4 by the end of next weekend, and we're still in with a hunt.
I like that attitude.
Fingers crossed.
That's
Well,
it.
what do we got? We've got 15 games left, don't we?
Something like that.
Yeah, something about that. Yep.
So we've got 15 games, and we have to win a minimum of 9 out of 15. So what are we looking at? 66%. 60% of our games we have to win. We should be able to do that if we're good enough. So, and that's what I was saying yesterday. We strung, 11 wins last year in a row?
In that early first half of the season.
Yeah, and then we had our bad 6-game patch. So it's not all completely doom and gloom, even though we've been pretty dismal and woeful on our podcast tonight. So hopefully they come out and do it for Kane. Otherwise, Macca and I are going to get drunk in the lounge.
That's it. All right, boys.
All right.
Until next time, Carn the pair.
Go on the Power.
See you later.
Goes back. Lockwood can unload. Oh, he goes the top. The old barrel. What a kick from Bowen Lockwood. Where did that come from?
Well, Port Adelaide held the ball up. They had no one to kick it to. There was about 4 or 5.